Hey y'all, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Today we're going to talk about how to repair your poultry, your sheep netting, your pig netting, all kinds of netting. We're going to talk about how to fix it today. All right, y'all, I'm holding in front of me this is a sheep netting. And obviously it's made by Premier One, or maybe it's not that obvious to the new people out there because I keep forgetting that record numbers are getting into this homestead space. Now, mine might look a little bit differently because you see this red here at the end. No matter what it is, whether it's poultry, pig, no matter the netting, I always mark the ends with some kind of farm red paint, something that really, really sticks out. So no matter where I am, I can see where the end is, I can see where the beginning is. And it's also pretty helpful when you store your netting, it kind of helps you, you don't know where one end is to the other. So this helps out quite a bit. So no matter the net, we always do that. Okay, we're going to talk about the repairs and how I go about fixing them. Like so many other things we do around here, it's not necessarily the conventional way. Now, what I mean is specifically right here in this spot, this is one of many spots that are frayed, damaged, and needs repair. Now, if you look at any of the other methods out there, people are going to show you a couple of ways of doing it. Now, we went back and we did a knot video, and you can do that because in the repair videos that you see of this, you'll see a square knot, you'll see a fisherman's knot, not a double fisherman's, but you'll see a fisherman's knot, and those are all sufficient. But when you deal with nylon, folks, especially this kind of nylon, it's a different animal altogether. So when you tie knots in it, they don't always stay. But I'm going to show you a field expedient method that I've been doing for well over a decade now that has worked well. And it's not probably in any way that you've ever seen before. So take, for example, this spot right here. Typically you would take a pair of cutters, scissors, or whatever, cut this off, and then you'll tie a square knot in it, cut this one off, and then do it again. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you today, you got 3 of these tiny little monofilament wires in there, right? And each one is attached to the white and the black, and I think there's 2 white strands and a single black strand in there. And each one of those monofilaments will basically carry your electric charge up and down here. Now here's a Premier One repair kit, and it comes with a couple of these, this one and this one. Now these 2 are non-conductive, these are conductive. And the only complaint I have is that these brass ferrules they give you, and these are older kits, maybe they've changed it. There's only maybe 4 or 5 of these in every kit. Now the idea being is that you tie a square knot in it and then you crimp these down on there. You can do it with a set of pliers. Also, another problem I have with these is that when you do use them, they want to snag on to the other things out there. So if you're not necessarily in a pasture or you're up in the woods, that can be a problem. Now, we can go ahead and do it that way, but I'm going to show you another way. So we got this barely hanging on here, right? I'm going to kind of do their version of it, but I'm going to show you a little twist on it in the way we do it. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't even cut this, but I'm going to show you several ways of doing this. So for now, we'll just go ahead and cut it here, if it'll cut. There we go. We'll cut it there, and then cut it beyond where the fray is. Cut it there, and it'll probably work a little better with scissors, but because I'm an electrician, I tend to want to use electrician's tools. So there we go. Cut that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and per their recommendations, I'm going to show you the way they do it. And then on the next one, I'm going to show you the way I do it. All right, per their directions, you can either go with a fisherman's or square knot. Remember, go back and watch that video. We showed you how to make a square knot. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll make a square knot. You want to leave some excess there. There it is, there's your square knot. Remember, I told you can check it by doing one of these. But remember what I told you with that nylon. When you pull on it, it stays tight, but over time, as it laxes, it'll wanna come apart. That's the problem with this kind of nylon. And then per their instructions, you put a little ferrule on here, or whatever they're calling these little brass things. And then you take a set of pliers and you do the Watusi on it like so. And then of course you take your scissors and you crimp the ends like that and like that. Now, having done this a number of different ways, I can tell you right now, when you're doing this thing, it's always going to want to snag on something. So no matter what I'm doing, I'll take some 33 electrical tape and I'll go ahead and wrap it on top. I mean, ask any electrician out there, they'll tell you that this is a problem waiting to happen in terms of being snagged on things. So we'll just go ahead and hit this with some 33. And if you're wondering how long is this tape gonna last, well, some of these repairs, like I said, this fence here is probably, not this fence, but some of the others are at least a decade old. And the 33 I put on there 10 years ago is still on there. Okay, so there we go. There it is, all set, ready to go. Now, per their instructions, I'd want to go ahead and cut this, right? Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you. Like I said, we're going to do it unconventionally. And it's honestly, if you don't have enough of these things, you better have a plan B. So I kind of get it the way I need it to be. And then I'm going to take a little extra. So let's just go ahead and cut it off right here. Okay. Now, in order to tie a square knot into this thing, I'm going to have to cut it, right? Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure out exactly where I want it to be. And then, folks, this is a highly advanced way of doing things. There are ways in which I can make rope, and I have made rope. There's a way to weave rope or to make what's called an eye. Now, when you make an eye in a rope, it's basically weaving a rope back onto itself, and it retains 90% of its tensile strength. That is the ideal way of doing it. Now, I didn't show you that in the knot video because that would be an entire video in and of itself, and it's a rather advanced process. But we're going to take a variation of it. You don't necessarily have to weave all of it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to unravel this like so. I'm just going to kind of twist it in the opposite way. This is a right-hand laid rope, okay? And I'm going to take this, I'm going to stick it up in there like so, okay? Now this side is a little bit frayed too. I'm gonna come around and then I went under a white one. Now, because they are colored, I'm gonna pick a black one, right? I'm gonna pull this out, stick this in here. There we go. Now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend up. I'm gonna keep weaving. I'm gonna undo it and I'm gonna weave this in and out all the way up and down here. And as you look at it, it starts to look like it's becoming one. I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna pick another arbitrary spot to put it. And I'm gonna stick it in there again. Like so. Twist it again, and I'm gonna do it almost all the way to the very end of this till I can't do it anymore. Now, I would, in a perfect world, and I've done it before, taken individual strands and then I'll weave it all the way. Now, there's nothing tighter than that. That's the real proper way of doing this, is take this is what's called a right-hand laid rope, meaning that as I look down to it, it's rolled to the right. Now, I've done this before many times. In fact, when I fuse a rope together, doing this very technique. Now, it's become frayed at the end. Now, if you run into that, all you have to do, if it gets a little frayed and you can't get it up in there, go back to your 33 and just kind of stick it on the end of that, like so. And I'm gonna roll it in such a way to where it makes a point on it. Now it's not fraying out on me. I can stick it up in there and keep going all the way with it. Now, I get it to that point, it's essentially staying where it is. Now I can still yank it through a little bit. Now, had I done each individual strand, this thing would not budge at all. But now, because of the high voltage on this, I'm not gonna get too far in the weeds as far as electrical theory goes, but because of the high voltage on this thing, I don't have to get each individual strand touching one another. Because of the high voltage, it will induce a voltage across itself, just being in very close proximity. Now, you got a couple of choices here. You can use those brass ferrules, which are in short supply. I can crimp it on here. I can crimp it on like so, and then I could chase it with some 33, or you're gonna run out of these, and if you're in the field and this is all you have, just take the last inch of this thing and just hit it with the 33. And you wanna, and folks, when you put this on here, you wanna kind of stretch it as you do this. Kind of stretch it a little bit as you do it. And I'm only gonna take it and hit that last inch, and then bam, like so. It ain't going nowhere. There you go. I showed you basically two different ways. I use their method with the square knot, but always, they don't tell you this, but I'm telling you, because you're gonna regret it if you're in an area where it can snag on anything, you're gonna wish you did. So always, if you can, cover it up with a little bit of 33 because it's gonna wanna snag on anything. And if you weave it like I just did here, make sure you just cover that last inch with a little bit of 33. All right, I'm gonna show you another way of doing this also. And this is, believe it or not, my preferred way of doing it. Now, every electrician out there has almost certainly dealt with heat shrink. It's not hard to deal with, it's not hard to find. You can, in fact, I got this off the shelf right there at Lowe's. So, heat shrink. Basically, as I apply heat to this stuff, it's gonna shrink. Now, 33, that's like the most field expedient way of doing it. I'm gonna show you another way of doing it, way I do it anyway. And like I said, you ain't gonna find this in nobody's package directions. So we got another one that's broken here, right? Okay, basically got out my handy dandy piece of repair twine. And if you can look at this up close, you'll realize that this stuff is frayed in 3 different directions here, right? Well, I can pretty much guarantee you, I had to clip this because in between here, I can guarantee you that it ain't making a good connection. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, but I'm gonna go past where the problem is. I don't even have to fix that. I'm just gonna roll up in there and I'm gonna weave this thing in and out just like I did. In fact, well, I was gonna do it the more complicated way. In fact, should I go ahead and do it, son? Okay, I won't do it that way. I'm just gonna show you the basic way of doing it. So all I'm gonna do is come in and out, go in through the black one, and then I'm gonna go and then hit the next one. Okay, we got that there. Like I said, I'm not even gonna worry about repairing this part. And all I'm gonna do, let's just say, what I'm trying to show you here, folks, is that there's options. You can go ahead and use their brass ferrules right there. Like I said, this ain't my favorite way of doing it, but we'll just go ahead and do it their way on one end, but without doing a square knot. Get this thing up here. Get my clines on it, and put the Watusi to it. Okay, and then like I showed you before, we'll go ahead and wrap it with some 33 tape. They say to clip off all those excess, but I like to leave a little bit under that 33. And if you're worried and thinking, okay, well, what if an animal hits right here? Look, folks, the voltage in this stuff is so high that it will reach out and touch you. In fact, 9 times out of 10, if you've ever been hit with this stuff, it honestly hit you 9 times out of 10 before you even touched it. So there we have it. We got one end already repaired. Now I'm gonna show you the different way, the preferred way that I like to do this. Okay, we got it all frayed up right here, so I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. Go ahead and run our scissors across it. Now, like I said, with this heat shrink, I got this 3/16 right here. This is what I prefer most, and I don't even need all of it, but I'm gonna show you how that works. Now, before I go and do this repair, I'm gonna go ahead and slide this on of this one end. Get it up out of the way there. And then on the end that does remain, this one here, I wanna make sure I got everything right. Now I'm gonna weave one into the other and then we'll pick it up. Or I could even tie a square knot. We'll go ahead and do it the simple way. I'll go ahead and tie a square knot in. But yeah, there's your square knot. Get it good and tight. Now I'm gonna clip off. I don't have to clip off both ends, but I'm just gonna go ahead and clip this one down close. And then I'm gonna slide this heat shrink right over both of them, just like so. Now I could have made this considerably smaller, but I'm doing this for the camera to show you how it works. Now, there's the heat shrink on there, and ideally I would have made it about yay big, just enough to cover this thing up. Now, let me go ahead and get my heat gun. Now, in the field, I could go ahead and use a propane torch. If you're really adept, you can go ahead and use a lighter, but in no way do I recommend that because you're gonna burn through this nylon if you're not careful. So I'm gonna get my heat gun and I'm gonna put it on low and we'll work that down. All right, there we have it. Tight as can be, done with that heat shrink. And the cool thing about some of this heat shrink, depending on the manufacturer, is that it has this little gel that comes out of it. And it kind of, it stabilizes it that much more. This thing is not gonna just fall. In fact, this stuff works so well, I could just put the two strands together like so and put that heat shrink on it, and 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna go anywhere. So here's another way of doing it. We showed you how to do it with a square knot, do it with a conventional way. And like I said, ideally, folks, you always want to absolutely cover that joint with some 33 electrical tape. If you don't, you're gonna wish you did, because it's gonna snag on everything. In fact, it'll even snag on itself. That's the one area in the repair that I'm not real crazy about. All right, folks, there you have it. That's a couple of methods in how to repair this fence. There's even a few more. Like I said, there are others. My most preferred method takes a little while to unfold because it'll never come loose, but these are more than sufficient. Like I said, some of these repairs I've showed you have lasted over 10 years at this point, and they're gonna keep on trucking. Nobody likes to repair fence, but every once in a while you're gonna leave it off, and then your goat's gonna go out there and chew on it. Then you got a problem. Or it may be another thing where, in this particular case, one of the people out here doing our fiber optics ran over the pig net, knew that he did it, and didn't tell me anything about it. And by the time I noticed it, there you go. I'd have 5 or 6 strands already messed up. So folks, I hope this stuff helps. But as a side note, we noticed that a lot of people out there enjoy some of the latest interviews we've done, especially William. If there's anybody out there that you want us to interview, by all means, let us know on the bottom here, and we'll see what we can do about reaching out to them and making that happen. Because in this community, it does help to see another point of view. It's certainly not just mine or anybody else's here. So let us know what you think, folks. Put it down below. And until next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for permaculture is my passion. Because it is. We'll see you next time.